This is we've been working, exploring for the past year the idea of Sacred-Versities, in very deep collaboration with many friends around the world, and particularly the Earthrise Collective. It was one of the very important topics that we discussed in the Brazil gatherings almost 2 years back. And it's slowly taking shape in many, many beautiful ways. And this is really an exploration of what Sacred-Versities means in different contexts in different parts of the world. So I'm going to invite my sister Maria Graziada to open us with a prayer to start the session. Maria?
Olá, Catuara, bom dia. Muito contente de estar aqui. Meu irmão Maniche, todos os meus afetos, nossa família conversitária. Uma conferência linda que está tendo esse desfecho no sagrado, que é o início e é o fim. Então, vou fazer um canto da minha etnia. Hoje eu vim com uma cobra coral, que é um símbolo de poder nas nossas nações. Então, eu vou cantar um canto da minha etnia para a cobra coral, para fortalecer todos nós nesse encontro maravilhoso. O Tupinambá, quando vem pra aldeia, ele traz na cinta uma cobra coral. O Tupinambá, quando vem pra aldeia, ele traz na cinta uma cobra coral. Oi, uma cobra coral. Oi, uma cobra coral. Oi, uma cobra coral. Uma cobra coral. O Tupinambá, quando vem pra aldeia, ele traz na cinta uma cobra coral. O Tupinambá, quando vem pra aldeia, ele traz na cinta uma cobra coral. Olha, uma cobra coral. Olha, uma cobra coral. Olha, uma cobra coral. Ué, Tupã, ué.
Thank you, Maria. So I'd maybe just invite everybody to take a minute, take a deep breath all together, and we can maybe invite you to share one word into the chat of kind of energy you would like to offer into the session. We have lots of words: gratitude, grounding, courage, love, mundanza, love, joy, alegria, joy, spaciousness, celebration, hope, opening, joy, love, determined, recognition, love, courage, sacred, surrender, freedom, presence, union, belief, peace, openness. Fun. All right. Connectivity. Fresca. Anyone else? Hmm. Changed. Great. So, as I said, there's been lots of conversations going around the Alliance around Sacred-Versities in many, many different pockets, many different places. And today is, a beautiful day to share about some of those explorations and the beautiful ways people around the Alliance are engaging with Sacred-Versities. And we also are hoping at the end of the call to also launch the book. There's a first volume of the Sacred-Versities book that has come out, and hope it's the first of many. But I'm really honored to be able to share it with you all tonight or this morning, wherever you may be. So I'm going to invite my brother Sujit here. And with Sujit and I have known each other for about almost 2 years now. And Sujit is really, really amazing mystic. He traverses many different worlds, from the corporate world to the local communities, from India all over Europe. And he's been hosting for many years men's festivals and pilgrimages, which were very inspiring. I heard about his pilgrimages first. And so very honored to have you here with us today, Sujit. So we thought we'd take about 10 minutes. Each speaker can share a little bit about Sacred-Versities, their ideas and notions of it, and what they've been kind of also practically doing. The beautiful thing of eco-versities is people are actually doing things also in the real world with these. So would love to hear about that. Sujit, over to you.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, brother. And also thank you to Andre for holding space together. And welcome, everyone. Indeed, every such reflection, Manish, is also something that takes me forward in my own journey of self-realization. So thank you for the opportunity. And yeah, we had many conversations in the past couple of years around Sacred-Versities and how fundamental it is for the humanity that's ahead of us. And within that context, we've also spoken about the incredible power of awakening for everyone. And for me particularly, whether it's in the governance world or in the business world or among social leaders or just men trying to find themselves or people of other genders, the discovery of the self is the greatest discovery of all. It is the greatest discovery of anything that we can undertake. Whether it is about AI today or our ability to go to Mars or finding global peace. Beyond all of that, the ability to find the self is our ability to find the greatest. And in the tradition from which I come, Manish, there is a very clear distinction that for thousands of years were made. The one of the Paravidya and Aparavidya, the study, the education of the subjective self, and the education of all the other objective sciences. And for most of human history, in my mystical land, the core of education, as you remember, Manish, has been on the self. How do we discover more of ourselves? How do we get to discover all our conditioning and limitations and discover beyond all of that the divine within? And around that, there would be some education on the objective sciences. There would be a little bit of maths, a little bit of physics, a little bit of history, geography would all be around that. And when I started going to school, education still used to be that way. But very rapidly, there was an evolution that I found myself in, where suddenly the objective sciences were found to be more important than the discovery of the self. And now what I've discovered these last 20 years, thanks to our grandparents, our parents, and our children, all willing for the individual and collective best, we are re-celebrating the return of the self, of the divine. And every place I go to, and I see that there are so many incredible people from the beautiful continent of South America, where I do visit once a year, and to Africa, to many parts of Asia, but also North Europe, in so many places. And then among the Native Americans and Canadians, we're starting to hear the call to adventure, to the sacred education of the self. And in the midst of all of that, I'm realizing that now this has become the most important thing in a world that is becoming a tempest. How do we find the center in the midst of the storm? In a world that is hurting at so many different levels, how do we reconnect with our steady core? Celebrate the love that I am, the bliss that I'm born as. And I'm foreseeing that Sacred-Versities, Manish, is going to become the core of any learning or unlearning for what's ahead for us in the next 15 years. That in this storm, what is going to hold us anchored to the truth of nature, to the truth of Mother Earth, is actually going to be our sacred core. How much we are in union with that sacred core. And I've been very blessed, as you mentioned, Manish, thank you for the acknowledgement. For the last 30, 38, 39 years now, to walk the most sacred trails on Mother Earth. I just walked in Brazil, the Caminho da Fé. I've walked many, many times around the sacred mountain Rainier, south of Seattle. I've walked many times the sacred trail of St. Francis in Italy. And in India itself, many, many places along the Himalayas and some of the sacred rivers. And every time accompanied by a great group, in this case, of men who are seeking to reunite with their divine within, journeys of initiation to return to their whole self. And in my tradition, at least, the single greatest education has been that initiation, that from our emergence to individuation, and somewhere from that individuation to our maturation, this most incredible initiation, which is done, carried by a sacred mountain as witness, or a sacred river as witness, trails where millions of people have walked before. And that initiation, the passion with which, Manish, you have taken on the advocacy for that initiation is also my prayer, that may we all continue to initiate back into the divine, one where we are shedding the old skin of all our conditioning, our traumas, and surrendering into a universal apprenticeship with the divine, and then returning with the illuminations that keep us blessed in life, those initiations. And I've briefly written about that in the book that you're about to launch, Manish. I'm excited about it. May all, and this would be my last prayer, may all our children, our grandchildren, and the children of children to the seventh generation have always had the opportunity, alongside everything else they learn, to be able to undertake their initiations on many, many sacred trails. And I'll stop there and check in with you to see if there is something that you feel, Manish, that you would like me to touch upon, or otherwise, let's welcome the space for others too.
Yes, no, I think that's perfect way to kick us off, Sujit. We want to have some time for people to ask questions and share, but I think the big challenge, which I would honor you for taking on, is really the exploration of the sacred masculine through all of your work, and the healing that has to happen to that. So thank you deeply for that. All the things you're doing around that, and hopefully we can hear more about it later in this call. Next, I would like to invite my brother, Puvan. Are you there, Puvan?
I'm here. Hope you can hear me.
Yes. So Puvan is very deeply involved in the Earthrise Collective. He has been a lawyer and activist trying to protect many sacred sites around the world. And he has also been, he has also been in deep communication, receiving deep communications from the sacred sites. And I like to sometimes say it's not only sacred sites, but sacred sightings that we are living with. And so I want to invite Brother Puvan. He's from most of the time, I think, in South Africa, but also all over the world, sharing his deep wisdom. So please share a little bit about the sacred sites work you're doing, Puvan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manish. And I'm apologizing in advance for the internet connection. So I'm actually deep in a jungle in Suriname, next to the Suriname River. I'm going to try and see if maybe you could have a bit of sight of it. Really, really beautiful territory. It's the Samaka territory in Suriname. And I'm here because part of what I do is help back up indigenous and other communities to protect their territories. But in doing that work, over the past few decades, the communities would take me into their ceremonies, and I didn't know what was happening to me, but they were opening up a different part of me as I was going through that journey. So my life is one day in the courtroom, with communities, but at the same time, something else incredible has opened up, and I'll share a bit about that and how it links to Sacred-Versities. So, as Manish mentioned a couple of years ago at the Eco-Versities gathering in Brazil, in some way it was the night after the full moon, and we had a very powerful ceremony. Maria and myself, with the local page, ceremonially held the ceremony together with Manish, and what birth to sacred is. So, as I've been going through my very deep process of, having grown up in South Africa under the apartheid government, being very involved in the anti-apartheid movement as a youth leader from early on, and then the sheer brutality of what happened in South Africa, uh, that pushed me very hard to try and understand how do we have this level of injustice, not just in South Africa but across the world. And with the work I've done with many communities, it's a really hard thing to grasp, because is there really justice? Even though we won in some ways freedom, in South Africa, people are not really free. People go to bed hungry. There's a lot of uh, tensions and conflict, and I mean that's not freedom. And so I had to go through my own journey where I ultimately had to realize that equality, freedom, and so on is not in anyone else's hands. It's something I need to find, within myself, in order, to understand this. But in coming to that understanding, it didn't make me less of an activist. In fact, it fueled me even more, but with a kind of activism that uses aspects and dimensions. So, uh, uh, for example, a colonized mind, we spirituality or those types of things in a very strange paradigm, and that's part of our colonized minds. But most of the indigenous and other communities that are very much connected to their ancestors, connected to their land and waters and mountains and so on, that's how they live their lives. So we've become westernized activists who have been taught to think in a certain way, and we find that really hard to move. So as I sat meditating in the mountains in Cape Town, a lot of things started coming to me, and I'll share one part of this. In a lot of detail, I got a lot of information about different energy points in the planet, scientifically, how they work, how the points are connected with each other, how the frequency of them works, and what needs to happen to help activate and connect them as part of a process for transformation. And I didn't fully at that stage comprehend what I'm being shown. But immediately after that, things started to unfold, and suddenly I was meeting all these elders from different traditions who were given the same message, and we started going to all of the key energy spots on the planet. And so we went, from the pyramids to Mount Shasta, Mount Kailash, Uluru in Australia, to different parts of the world. And each sacred place we went to, there's massive learning. In the pyramids in Giza, we spent nights there in ceremony. And that's where I learned about numbers and what they actually are, and the energetics of numbers. In Mount Shasta, I was taken through deep lessons about and shown what unconditional love is, for example. So each of these sites, taught me many, many things, as it did with the other elders. But ultimately, what it and this is the main point I want to bring forward. Ultimately, what it taught me was we are these sacred beings, and we are sacred versities. It's something outside of ourselves. Because of the nature of this reality, everything, as we know, is interconnected. So whatever's going on within us, we have the cosmos in us. And that, how can we see things outside that are sacred, but we can't feel, experience, and see ourselves as sacred? And so what's happened to us is we've been made to feel very, very small in many different things to make us feel like we're so small. You know, way physically we're quite small to compared to what's out there. But at the same time, we have everything, and we're being those cities, and us, going through our traumas, going through the healing, opening up to different traditions, to different knowledge systems, etc., etc. Saying and is, we have access to knowledge far beyond what we can even comprehend, and so it's not about trying to find things. It's all in us, and it's how we transform the planet by transforming. Sorry, so in December, so nadis in South India, these ancient scripts that were written between 3,000 to 5,000 years ago by these 18 advanced yogis. And in December, my script was found. And basically, it's the idea that beings 5,000 years ago knew what was going to happen right now and wrote a lot of detail about how individual lives would unfold, but also how what will unfold in the planet. And this is true for so many different cultures and traditions and so on. How incredible that knowledge is. So part of Sacred-Versities is about tapping into this ancient knowledge to bring that forward for this time we're in now. Because as we know, and seeing what's going on now in the Middle East and every other place, that world is crumbling, and that leadership is crumbling very, very quickly. And so it's now left to us collectively to open up the next pathway. No one else is going to do it. So it's for us to do that. And Sacred-Versities, it would be the space for us to come together to work together in this path forward. Thanks, Manish.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brother Bhuvan. Yeah, I think one of the ideas around when we were discussing this is really that the systems that we have right now are maybe bringing out the lowest frequency of humanity in terms of fear and scarcity and competition and violence, monoculture. So I think if we continue to operate in that logic, it doesn't look very promising for us. And so maybe one of the driving, at least for me, the driving inquiry is how do we shift these frequencies? We have so many ancient wisdom traditions and technology wisdom that are not owned by global corporations, luckily, that we have to be able to work with. And I think the Sacred-Versities is really to create a practice ground for more and more of us to connect to that sacred within us, and that we are deeply all part of together in the universe. So let me invite the next panelist, Pooja. Pooja is become a very dear friend and sister. And Pooja did many of you know Bio. So Pooja and I were at an event of Bios last year together. Aaron was there also. Um, and anyway, so we met there, and Pooja had been this beautiful, hosted a beautiful ritual performance that was part of the event. And we got talking, and she shared a lot with me about the amazing work she is doing with, I think bringing the arts out of this commodified trap that have been become part of, and really reclaiming the arts as ritual performances. And her work is around the rites of passages houses was really inspiring for me. So I think Pooja can share something around that. Welcome, Pooja.
Thank you. Good morning, good evening, Manish and everyone. Can you all hear me? I assume you can hear me and see me. Thank you to my brothers that shared, Sujit and Uven. So many of our Desi relatives here this morning. It's nice to see you all and be in space. I love that Manish, when I first met you, you kind of saw me and a deeper current that's coming through me, which is really why Sacred-Versities is resonant with my own life path, and is a vision that I've been holding in my heart and that runs through my ancestral lineage as well, which is, as Sujit was saying, the Sacred-Versity was the way that human beings held knowledge and passed down knowledge. It was always in the ancient world and in the pre-colonial, in the indigenous worlds that still are, that the sacred is the knowledge, and that nature, that the forest, that the land is the wisdom keeper. And so, for example, in India, not only in India, but all throughout Asia, there were schools of knowledge that were embedded within the ecologies. And this tradition has sort of eroded over time, but it lives on within us. It lives on in the indigenous peoples that still are attempting to stay alive within the overwhelming assault of the monoculture that Manish just spoke of. So that is something that lives within me, this remembering of a way of stewarding and tending knowledge, and is something that I'm here to bring into form. And the first kind of leg of that journey for me involved yatras in India, actually, and in the United States, personal yatras. And then went into the realm of ritual performance, which I'll just say a little context so that you know where my journey has taken me and how this will eventually link into Sacred-Versities and wisdom schools of learning. Is that I'm from South India, I'm from Kerala, where the ritual arts were, and to some extent still continue to be, a vital part of how meaning and community is made and tended. Where the arts, as Manish had mentioned, is not something that you go to once in a while for entertainment. It was woven into the very structure of village life and how knowledge and wisdom were passed on. It was through story, it was through ritual that we remembered who we were, right? As Sujit said, who am I? It was how we remembered who we are in community and how we are embedded into place and into the landscape, and what the sacred even means in relationship, right, with each other as human beings and with the more than human world. So there is a rich, diverse as the jungles of the Western Ghats culture of ritual in South India. And when I was young, I immigrated to the United States, and then as a teenager went back to learn about these traditions. And in that journey, being taken in by dozens and dozens of folk artists, ritual artists, scholars, and visionaries in the field, my young eyes were just open to the possibility of what it could be to remember community in place and in culture. So years later, I would create a theater company here in the northeastern United States called the Ritual Theater, which was a way for me to tend those seeds in this place, the United States, which those of you that know is bereft of so much culture, really. Like, we're bereft of the root, whether we are descended from Europeans or were brought here through the slave trade, or we were our indigenous populations that were decimated here. Our cultures have been uprooted, and the overall process of patriarchy and colonialism around the world has uprooted us from our relationship with place and with culture. We become adults without really becoming adults. And this comes back to Sujit was speaking about initiation. So in cultures around the world, initiation was how we came to understand our relationship with ourself, our community, and our place. It was how we became really fully human. And we didn't just go through one initiation and that was it. We continued to, yes, individuation to maturation. Someone wrote in the chat, we continue to become more fully human, more fully alive and in relationship through various rites of passage that the community in some way or another honored. So in my traditions in South India, we had a few of these rites of passages, but they weren't so about the individual. It was more a process of remembering community together, of remembering the self by dissolving the self, dissolving the notion that a separate self exists at all. And so that will be resonant to anyone that's still in touch with indigenous culture or that has been part of ceremonies that remember the sacred. So as this process of creating ritual theater continued in me early on, I read the work of an amazing visionary scholar who is now an ancestor, Malidoma Somé, from the West African Dagra tradition and tribe, speaking about initiation. And in his autobiography, he writes that unless our initiations are honored, that they will remain dimmed as traumas to cope with. And that struck me so deeply on every level, because indeed, I, as a modern person, didn't grow up in a culture of initiation. I have so many traumas that were never seen and witnessed and allowed to blossom from wounds into, wisdom. And so I wondered what it would be like to start to weave a culture of remembering and community and initiation together, to become more fully human together. Particularly, I am a woman, I identify as a woman, and the moorings of my whole life really have to do with honoring the sacred feminine and honoring earth and the elements of earth. How the mother that birthed us all in the cosmology of my homeland is everything. Everything comes from the forest, everything comes from the water, everything comes from she. And we are her children. I am a woman. I go through so many experiences throughout my life, including becoming a woman from menarche, my first blood, to then maybe becoming a mother of a child, or becoming a mother in so many ways, to creations, to eventually going through menopause, which is yet to come, and elderhood. And this whole life cycle has no honoring in modern life, right? We just are, if anything, we're told that we should stay forever young. We should always stay as maidens. We should never grow up into elders. We should never die. because death would be the end rather than being understood as part of the necessary cycle of life, that life is always dying and being born and renewing itself, is returning home to itself. So in 2013, this journey manifested as a project called Rites of Passage, which was a literal house of 20 some odd rooms here in the Northeastern United States, where each room in this house represented a rite of passage theme in the lives of women from birth to death. And so it was a community process where I invited people in to, quote, curate a room of cure, a room of healing around these themes. And they would come in and literally a room would be born through them. And then an audience would be welcomed, the public, to walk through these rooms in a journey of initiation. And in that journey, they would literally be changed, because for us creating the house, we had never been in a space of initiation like this, a collective that really became a village of initiation. It was meant to be a space where whatever we were transitioning in our lives, whether that be, say, coming into our power in a specific way, healing from certain traumas, or remembering our ancestral wisdoms, or coming into a menopause or elderhood without a culture that honors that that is what's happening. We were going through initiations together, while at the same time an audience then would come in and view these rooms, which were immersive. They had all sorts of art making, from installations, from flowers and soil and things that we have in our daily lives here in our homes that we don't recognize as also being sacred, because the sacred is in life, in the here and now, not a concept or something we can only discover in, say, a church. It's in our very daily lives. And in that process of walking through this house, each person, and regardless of their gender, I think had an experience of, oh, this is familiar to me, even though I don't know this, I haven't experienced this. I know this on an ancestral level. I know this on a soul level, that this is how we are meant to be. So ultimately, this project later blossomed a second time in 2021, just a few years ago, in the same house, which incidentally was a historic women's club. And this time it was focused on the lives of women of color, and particularly on ancestral reclamation. And that it was 60 women, about 60 women from around the United States. The youngest was 3 years old and the oldest was 75. And in the first house, the youngest was 3 years old and the oldest was 89. Well, the youngest was in utero in the first house. And so this last time, again, we birthed a house with all different themes such as, we had a kitchen. You know, we have a literal kitchen. In that kitchen, if we had time, I'd love to show you footage from it, but we don't have time. But I can share a link in the chat. Was called Soul Kitchen, and you'd walk in and there'd be, you know, a mother, an African-American mother braiding her girl's hair, her 3-year-old girl's hair. There'd be another mama making guacamole on in the I forget what it's called in Mexico, the mortar and pestle, and an elder sitting at the big long kitchen table making artwork, and there's another woman singing music. And so mokahete, yeah. So you thank you, Yale. So you come into this immersive space where there's so much of a sense of love and belonging and a sense of home. It's a home of initiation, a home of belonging, a home of healing. So you enter into that and it's like some part of us gets a sense of, yeah, this is how it's meant to be, the elders and the youth together and everybody witnessing each other growing up into our full selves, healing and shedding, and also remembering who we are in relationship with other human beings, in relationship with all of this literal soil and plants and waters and hundreds and hundreds of roses and other flowers that we brought into this space. Like, we brought Mother Earth into the building because we come from Mother Earth. And finally, this is envisioned as a project that is not merely an art installation that I produce and that we co-create together here in America, but is meant to be a seed that could sprout, or a little mushroom that could spore elsewhere in the world in a couple of ways. One, that other small communities, artist collectives, activists around the world could create a rites of passage house of their own, or perhaps just 3 rooms, because there is no one house that's going to encapsulate all of the initiations for all of humanity or all women, because every community, every language is going to have its own needs, its own visions, its own possibilities of how this wisdom comes from the soil into being. And so that's one possibility. And the other is simply that in creating this kind of offering, we want people to remember, oh yeah, initiation as a crucial part of life, and community as a crucial part of life, and art as part of everyday life, rather than something that's in a museum or that I pay money to go to see on a stage. That it was part of how we made meaning, and ritual is not just a luxury, but is actually how we heal. So that's what I wanted to share with you all. And ultimately, it is a sacred learning. And that's why Manish invited Rites of Passage to be shared in the book. And it's part of a trajectory of discovering what it is to become a wisdom school as well. So I'll put that in the chat for you all. And the last piece I'll just say is that initiation, I think, is how we come into remembering ourselves not as beings that simply consume and then create wars, but as beings that belong here on earth, and whose responsibility as creators is to offer back to earth and to offer back to our communities, to nourish life. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Pooja. So beautiful. Let's just take maybe 30 seconds and have a deep breath just to take it all in. Really, so many things about initiation and the importance of initiation in our lives, and how that connects to really, I think, belongingness, so important right now in the world. In Hindi, we have the word apnapan, which is really, I think, very sacred for us here. So last, I'll invite my sister Maria Graziada. We have been able to spend a lot of time together. We went to the Amazon together, deep into the Amazon last year. And she is very, very deeply inspiring for me personally to be in her presence. And she is also just is releasing a book in collaboration with Sacred-Versities Alliance also. And I hope she shares about that as well. And you can share about that, Maria Graziada, please. So over to you, please.
Honro os que vieram antes de mim, meus ancestrais, e peço ancestrais de esse lugar que fala. Estava ouvindo fala da nossa amiga antes de mim, e eu creio que O caminho do sagrado é o caminho do simples, né? Ela dessa questão do dia a dia, do nosso pertencimento, da nossa ancestralidade. Eu sou uma costureira de mundos. Eu falo que sou uma costureira de mundos, né? E com a mesma agulha que eu costuro o mundo, eu furo bolhas, porque acredito que assim, divisão indivisível, um lugar que a gente pode compartilhar, andar, né? Queria falar só um pouquinho sobre a minha trajetória, porque ela tem a ver com o sagrado. Eu sou indígena tupinambá, de uma etnia que foi considerada extinta pelos antropólogos. E foi uma etnia dizimada. E assim que os invasores chegaram aqui em Pindorama, que chamam Brasil, nos encontraram. Então, de 1 milhão de indivíduos, sobraram no máximo uns 15 mil. E o que nos manteve de pé, o que faz eu estar aqui hoje, podendo falar, foram algumas coisas bem importantes para mim hoje, que me mantêm de pé. Uma é nos considerar e vivermos como natureza. Então a gente não sente que a natureza é algo que está fora de nós. A natureza somos nós. Então, as amigas plantas, amar as águas, as nuvens, são parte de nós. E uma coisa que as outras formas de vida nos ensinam é o tempo. E isso eu acho que foi o que nos preservou. Essa conexão e essa consciência que somos natureza. Então, roubaram nossos territórios, nossa cultura, nossa língua, né? Mas o sagrado se manteve porque fomos sustentados pelo que chama de natureza, que nós chamamos de irmandade. Então, aqui estou no meio da minha irmandade, aqui, ó, conversando com vocês, escutando o que elas nos dizem também para passar para vocês. E uma coisa que eu sinto que é mais importante de tudo isso é o nosso tempo, o tempo das coisas. A natureza me ensina, nossas irmãs me ensinam que tem tempo de chover, tem tempo de aquecer, tempo de esfriar, tempo que planta, mas a semente que é lançada no solo, ela não frutifica de uma vez. Ela precisa de tempo, ela precisa encontrar estrutura para lançar suas raízes. Eu sou filha de um ancião de 100 anos. E meu pai fica sentado aqui na varanda olhando o tempo, vendo as nuvens, vendo o movimento dos pássaros. Então, uma vida corrida que nos é proposta, né, como se fosse uma verdade única. Ter tempo para contemplar, para respirar, para sacralizar, é a nossa saída para mim, é a nossa rota de fuga. Eu costumo dizer, quando apresento as ecoversidades, que a gente não está contra o sistema, a gente está numa tangente, aonde a alegria é possível, aonde o encontro é possível, aonde a festa acontece. E para mim isso é sagrado. Poder se alegrar, poder abraçar é sagrado. Então, falando das ecoversidades no Brasil, eu sinto que a gente celebra muito, sabe? Tudo a gente celebra. Porque às vezes a gente batalha tantas coisas, né? E esquece de celebrar. Então, como nossa amiga falava anteriormente, a ritualística ela não pode ser de vez em quando. Ela tem que ser todo dia, todo tempo, né? A gente vive aqui num espaço chamado Instituto Etno. Quem veio aqui sabe do que eu vou falar agora. Que a gente vive a pedagogia do dia a dia, a consciência pela convivência, mas não só com humanos, né? A educação, ela é algo muito mais abrangente, porque aqui, ó, temos o nosso mestre, esse é o mestre pacífico, eles ensinam muitas coisas na vida, né? Temos o nosso mestre fogo, tantos mestres aqui, né? A diretoria do Instituto Etno é feita pelas anciãs árvores que estão aqui. Estou debaixo de um dedezeiro que deve ter uns 100 anos, igual meu pai. Então, todos os dias, a gente celebra, a gente se educa, a gente sacraliza. Começamos o dia perguntando como nos sentimos, porque é importante saber como a gente se sente. E aí, voltando no meu pai, ele olha assim para o tempo e fala assim: ah, eu me sinto como esse tempo, estou meio nublado ou estou ensolarado. E isso fala da natura, né? O que está fora, o micro está no macro e o macro está no micro. Então, quando a gente estava viajando para a Amazônia para visitar outros parentes, a Maniche me perguntou: Maria, o que é sagrado para você, né? E eu parei um tempo e pensei, a gente estava dentro do Rio Negro, aquela magnitude, aquele ser antigo ali, né? E me veio essa coisa, assim, o sagrado é tudo, né? É a possibilidade da gente se integrar com todas as formas de vida, humanas, não humanas e invisíveis. Eu sou de uma cultura que acredita no mundo invisível. A gente chama de encantados, que são seres que nunca foram humanos, mas os nossos antepassados também, que estão conosco vivos aqui. Esse ano 25 eu tive a oportunidade de estar no território maia e lá eles também acreditam no inframundo, né? Que os nossos continuam conosco, nos guiando, caminhando. Isso dá uma segurança, isso dá um calor, né? Porque o pacote colonizatório nos diz que estamos isolados, que estamos sozinhos, né? O individualismo, temos que correr atrás do nosso nome, proeminência e tudo mais, né? E para nós só tem sentido se for todo mundo junto. Então a comunidade, para nós, é o sagrado. E que comunidade é essa? Só minha comunidade Tupinambá? Por isso que eu falo da bolha. Honro minha comunidade, amo minha etnia, mas o mais importante é que ela esteja integrada a todos os outros seres. Então esse é o nosso propósito, né? Essa união, essa sacralização da vida diária e simples. Coisa que eu sinto é a simplicidade. Acho que o sagrado é simples. A gente não precisa de muita coisa, né? Só de estar vivo, né? Aí volto no meu pai, e aí como você se sente? Aí ele fala, eu estou muito bem porque eu estou vivo. E aí quando a irmã falava sobre não envelhecermos, né? Eu hoje vivo o tempo da anciã. No Encontro Global no Brasil, formamos a Ecoversidade das Abuelas Sanadoras. É muito honroso ser uma avó. Eu sou mãe e avó de 4 netos agora, né? É muito lindo ser avó. E é muito importante eu sentar nesse lugar da anciã, sabe? Porque isso fala da minha trajetória, do que eu já vivi, né? De tudo que eu trago na minha bagagem. Mas, ao mesmo tempo, que a gente não envelheça, Aqui no Brasil, por exemplo, uma mulher na minha idade, eu tenho 61 anos, é idosa, né? Tem direitos especiais porque é idosa, é velha. Mas tem uma força que nos anima, que vem desses nossos companheiros e companheiras ao nosso redor, humanos, não humanos, invisíveis, que nos abastece todo dia, que nos aviva. Então, o meu experimento nessa terra e o que eu falo para as outras anciãs que eu cruzo no caminho é: temos que estar radicalmente vivas, temos que estar felizes, celebrando, né? E quando a tristeza bater, que a gente saiba que é um processo natural, e não é porque a gente está velha, é porque a gente está vivo, né? Então, estou me conciliando cada dia mais com essa anciã, que abraça, que aconselha, que se cuida, né? Porque não é porque eu cuido de muita gente que eu me esqueço, então eu tenho que ser minha prioridade, né? Se eu passo a sanação e a saúde, eu tenho que estar saudável. Se eu falo de felicidade, se eu falo de retomada identitária, de resistência, eu tenho que estar vivendo isso. Então, acho que esse movimento nosso da ecoversidade do sagrado realmente é uma espinha dorsal no nosso movimento, porque a gente não pode esquecer que somos seres sagrados, os que vieram antes de nós são sagrados, os que vão vir depois de nós são sagrados, as nossas relações são sagradas e as nossas relações com todas as formas de existência. Então, honro o espaço de fala aqui e deixo uma mensagem que a gente possa andar para trás um pouco com o tempo, que a gente possa viver um tempo de paz, um tempo tranquilo, o tempo das coisas, que a gente possa esperar as sementes que a gente planta começarem a dar brotos, que a gente possa olhar para nós e ver a gente frutificando, mas que a gente não, nossos sonhos, a nossa vida não seja arrancada antes como um fruto imaturo. E para isso tudo, para a gente comer um fruto de grande sabor, a gente precisa se alinhar com o tempo das coisas, o tempo do agora, o tempo da presença, da celebração, da arte, da dança, da música, do sorriso. Auere.
Sim.
Dentro da minha linhagem, eu sou... Sim, posso falar? Dentro da minha linhagem, eu sou uma mulher que recebo os encantados. Eu sou uma tradutora também. Eu traduzo as mensagens do invisível para o visível. E nós temos uma entidade que se chama Mãe da Misericórdia. Ela é um ser que nunca encarnou. Ela representa o espírito de uma planta de poder. E ela ditou um livro. Através de mim, eu transcrevi as falas da Mãe da Misericórdia. E em breve, escolhi a ecoversidade, porque assim, a ecoversidade é minha vida. Queria falar um pouquinho só sobre o que aconteceu como eu encontrei Maniche. A gente já vinha há 25 anos, o Instituto Etno tem 25 anos. A gente estava 19 anos fazendo essa educação que a gente acredita, com relação com todos os seres. E encontro Maniche aqui na minha cidade, no nosso território, falando exatamente a mesma coisa. Então eu falei, gente, que é isso? Preciso conhecer essa pessoa, preciso conhecer as ecoversidades. Bom, e aí começo a dedicar minha vida às ecoversidades. Então, quando a Mãe da Misericórdia trouxe esse livro, não podia publicar em outro lugar, tinha que ser através das ecoversidades. Então, ela traz conceitos, ela é nossa filósofa, ela é que orienta todos os nossos movimentos aqui. Então, ela traz o conceito do eu, do ser individual, né, do ser coletivo e do ser coletivo em relação a todas as formas de vida. Então, em breve, vamos estar lançando o livro aí. Estou bem contente de estar dando tudo certo, tudo fluindo. Então, esperem. E eu acho que o livro vai se chamar Conversas com a Mãe ou Momentos do Agora. Vamos ver o que ela traz para nós.
Thank you so much, Maria. We are very honored that you're and looking forward to the book coming out. And so we have friends only about 10 minutes left. I think I'm feeling that we need another call to hear all the other so many things going on. Maybe so this is a good kickoff event, I think, for Sacred-Versities, and so thanks so much to the rec for giving us this space. I just wanted to see if maybe this there was a couple of questions or things that people put in here. Or can somebody help me with those? Were there any questions? Somebody was asking about a syllabus, I think, right? Was there any other questions? Andrea or Yayo, can you guys see? We're in the group chat.
There were a lot of comments. Maybe if
Yeah.
someone has a question, they can say it, or you want. There are a lot of comments in the chat.
Yeah.
You want me to read it?
Why don't we? I'm just. Can we go over time, or are we bringing in our own sacred notion of time and letting go of the institutional time, or are we on that? Can you tell me?
No. No, I think we can. So we have the carnival in 25 minutes. I think we can go a bit over, but yeah,
Okay.
just to have that in mind.
So yes, I just wanted to give one more quick round to the people who shared just now, if there was anything that they feel important. To add that they felt, and if there's any questions also, I don't think we can get any long answers, but any kind of short things. I think this is, as I said, this is just a starting event, and I know there's so many beautiful things that people are working on and engaged with around Sacred-Versities. So I really would love to have more time if we can listen to everybody's experiences. Paula, you have your hand up. Do you want to say something?
Yes.
Posso responder?
Maria Agraciada,
Sim,
desculpa,
sim.
eu mal pronunciei o seu nome. Não
Não,
sei se
tudo bem.
eu estive clara na minha pergunta. Quando é que, quando a primeira vez que sentiu essa presença da Maria da Misericórdia, como reconheceu que era, digamos, outra entidade, outro ser, e essa relação que estava a começar com esse ser como, digamos, um dever sagrado de poder transmitir essas mensagens. Quando e como que se deu? Se pode nos comunicar isso?
Eu tenho pouco tempo, então vou fazer um resumo, porque dá outro livro essa história, e um dia eles vão escrever um livro sobre isso.
Quero
Mas
ler.
eu sou de uma linhagem de mulheres de poder espiritual. E toda vez que nasce uma pessoa que vai continuar essa tradição, ela começa a ser cuidada desde pequena. Então, começou na minha vida com 4 anos de idade, eu estou com 61, e eu só pude manifestar para fora da minha família com 58. Então, eu tive 54 anos é isso que eu estava falando, de convivência do dia a dia. Então, minha família trata a espiritualidade com muita naturalidade e simplicidade, mas a primeira vez que eu tive contato com tudo isso foi com 4 anos, né? E seguir a vida assim é uma coisa natural para nós. Agora, por exemplo, eu tenho minha filha, minha neta já manifesta de 2 anos, então aí a tradição vai se mantendo. Então é uma coisa muito corriqueira para nós. A gente sabe porque Por exemplo, a Mãe da Misericórdia que ditou esse livro tem uma consciência muito maior que a minha, infinitamente maior. E para nós, a espiritualidade ela é vivida dia a dia. Todos os dias a gente se dedica à espiritualidade, porque não tem diferença, né? A gente é espírito, habitando um corpo temporário.
Muito obrigada, Maria.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask Sujit and Bhuvan and Pooja if they want to say anything else that they think it's important to the conversation. And then I want to take a few minutes to share the book with you. We have a sneak preview for all of you to look at. And then Pooja is going to close us with a little blessing. So yeah, Sujit or Bhuvan or Pooja, did you guys want to add anything? Is there anything else important? What do you see this thing's moving towards? What are you looking forward towards with the Sacred-Versities?
Manish, I just want to applaud the incredible amount of energy, the love that has gone into bringing this amazing group of loving people together. So, salutes to all the team behind you. And there are a couple of comments in the chat box. I'll just directly address that. But for now, just sending out that love.
Thank you, brother. Bhuvan, would you like to share anything? Or is he there? Just getting a little... I think we've lost one. Pooja?
Hi, thank you all. I am called to simply say that somebody asked about curriculum. There's a conversation on the thread. I'm called to say that any curriculum, as any wisdom, comes from earth, comes from the land, comes from the soil and the water and the elements, and listening to that in our language, listening to her, is where the curriculum is, where it lives, where the transmission lives.
Yeah, but I have a question on that. How do we listen and make the others listen to that for them to understand what we are listening to? This is what is on my and I work with kids, and the kids are connected completely with the nature because they don't have anything, and if we care about the container that is on them, we are sure they will be connected. But there are like 8 billion people here, and like 10% is listening to the earth. So yeah, I need the routines or the curricula to start changing that, or maybe get more directed. This is what I have to say today. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like sure Maria will have more to say on this, or Sudit or Puven. And again, I think there's no one blanket answer of how to get people to listen. It's the inquiry of our time, no? But it could be something so simple as people lying on the earth or touching a tree. But ritual and stillness are technologies, and infinite technologies that different cultures have created over time in relationship with place to help us to listen. So I would say start by looking into your own traditions, into your own lineage traditions, into your ancestral ways, and also into the ways of the people in the place where you live, but especially, I think, sourcing your own roots, how your people have listened and have created space to listen. That is what really guides me on this path.
Yeah, great. So yeah, I don't think the book gives an answer in terms of curriculum, but gives a lot of inspiration and places you can look, building on what Pooja was saying and what the other speakers have shared today. And so, I'll be very curious. Who is it? Diego? Was that your name? Who just spoke? Is it Diego?
Yes, Diego.
Yeah, Diego. Yeah. So it'll be great to see what you think of the book also. Let's say, I can't. I was going to move towards closure, but Danya, I'm seeing after so many years, my sister Danya, so many, like 15 years I haven't seen you. So good to see you. Please speak something before we close.
Thank you to everyone, each of you. I believe that we are also biodynamic human beings and nurturing. You mentioned it also, the kitchen, the community, and how we can understand that nurture is how we feed ourselves. Nurture is how biodiversity is present in our land. And in modern societies is also the understanding that every single piece of ingredients and the love that we can put in this is also coming from the South. The vanilla, the cacao, the coffee is not a cup. It's not something that we only buy. These are testimonials. This is full life in the chakra, in the finca, in the farm. So I think that this kind of connection can also shine. And I think that we need to transmit it to make this interconnection. It's not only production, it's nutrition, it's good living, it's summa causa, is what we are living in community. So the spiritual level is also to this dynamic soul human beings in harmony with nature. So I also invite you to explore the topic of summa causa, living in harmony with ourselves, with community, and also as a whole, with Ecuador, who was the first country recognizing the rights of nature. So thank you for this amazing place and these 4 days of inspiration and love.
Great. Thank you, Danya. So yeah, I think there's it's been shared. I mean, there's a need also in the world, which is in the times we're in. I think the need has many dimensions to it. One being that I don't think that we see from many spaces around the world that, whether it's in Excel documents or it's in the space of white papers or even legal cases, that the logic of violence and is not going to shift. And so, how do we bring people together into a higher consciousness together? That's kind of the exploration within the eco-versities and with the idea of Sacred-Versities itself. And great spaces for practice. For me, it's been a very deep journey into many initiations with the journey to recover that and the understanding or even the confidence to even to connect with the sacred again, and not have that inner voice or that critic be all the time, that hyper rational critic questioning this. So I think that's one dimension, is that if we want to shift the larger patterns, I call it the ancestral game. Playing the business as usual current game and trying to win in those terms doesn't make any sense. And so it's it's to bring people into invite leaders, different kinds of leaders of all shapes and sizes into the Sacred-Versities spaces. And then there's also, a larger, I think, planetary initiation happening for humanity. We're in the middle of it, and I think Sacred-Versities has a great role to support us in this initiation, going through it. So, and that with just saying that, we have this book, Andrea. We haven't put it online yet. It needs one more round of quick proofreading. So if you find mistakes in it, please tell me, and we'll get those sorted out in the next day or two, and it'll be online. But you give you a sneak preview of it. Can you share it here in the? Yes, so it's in now officially
in
in
the
the
chat.
as a PDF. Secret. So I just invite you to all put your hands up and wave your fingers and put some beautiful energies. This is lots and lots of. It's not even our work because I believe in copyleft, but a lot of something that we are bringing from the ancestors, and so very deep gratitude to all of you, and special thanks to all those who have contributed to this. And as it says, volume 1. So I know a lot of people here. What you say, you're going to have lots to say and lots to contribute to it. So hopefully more volumes will come out in the coming year. So thank you so much for all being with us. I want to just invite Pooja to give us a closing blessing and prayer.
So I invite you to rest your eyes just for a moment on something else but the screen. It could be a window, it could be something soothing, or to close your eyes, whatever feels most nourishing. And as Maria began, I would like to close with sound. But this time, I want to invite us each to sound, to allow the sound to come through your own voice in the way of a hum. And so we'll all be humming together. And as you hum, I will say a few words. As we're humming together, that we are all in different spaces on this beautiful planet Earth. And at the same time, the hum is uniting us. Perhaps it's the same hum coming through each. One more hum on your own. May this humming of Earth hum through each being in this circle, in the network of ecoversities. You can open your eyes and hum one more time.
Everyone to unmute.
Yeah, sure. If you can unmute for a moment and open your eyes and hum. May this collective humming ripple out into the world, especially into the places where there is thirst for water, for nourishment, where there is war and injustice. May it ring in Iran today. May it ring in Gaza. May it ring in Sudan. May it ring in Myanmar. May it ring in Ukraine. May it ring in all of our homelands and in the hearts and the bones of our ancestors, in the waters and in the oceans. May we remember our peace is our liberation, and our homeland is right here under our feet and in our hearts.
Let's celebrate living at its fullest in harmony with nature.
So maybe everyone can say a word before you leave into the group, and we'll see you at the party later tonight, the carnival, and a big, let's all give a big, wonderful vibrations to the rec team. So much amazing work for bringing this all together, guys. And all the language justice team also for all the background with supporting everyone to bring all of our beautiful languages into this circle.